Hey, hey, hey. Well, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Leadershipisation, all things leadership. This is my weekly message about leadership to anyone out there who's already a leader or who is potentially an aspiring leader. And it goes out live most Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm Beth Bergen. I'm a global leadership and communication coach, and my goal is to build influential leaders. I do this by working with executives, managers, business owners, and their teams to build influential leadership and communication skills. Today, we're going to talk about a really dicey kind of a topic that I find that a lot of us actually would prefer to run from. You know, whenever we see any kind of conflict, whenever we're aware that there's a disagreement, for many of us, we want to run in the opposite direction. Or we do exactly the opposite of that and we want to be all in, proving a point, arguing our case, making sure that we get our point across. Well, think about it this way. What if conflict or disagreement could actually strengthen relationships? What if it could build new ideas? What if it contributed to innovation? Have you ever heard of positive disagreement or constructive conflict? Yep, it's actually a thing and it's very real. Because when we get it right, what it allows us to do is to share in a group, to share different opinions respectfully, to focus on those shared goals and outcomes without the personal agendas. And it teaches us to communicate by separating those emotions from the actual facts. What I love about difference and this positive conflict is that it can actually ignite new ideas. This is why we want a diverse team, because we're going to get a range of new ideas. However, these differences need to be managed really well so that they don't actually fester and create a really toxic work environment. You know, what I enjoy and what I'm sure many of you enjoy about the diversity of opinion is that when you've got diverse opinions, that leads to diverse conversations. When we have disagreement and we don't manage it well, that's a real red flag because we've got a lot of conflict. When we have disagreement that we manage it well, and it's respectful disagreement enhances that trust and understanding. It brings for honors to much deeper engagement. However, for many of us, we expect there to be conflict. And because we're expecting it, we hold back. Now, what I want to tell you is that for every single time that we avoid conflict, we're missing a chance just to dig deeper, to identify real ideals, real beliefs, and to have a really deep understanding of how people think, what their opinions are, rather than just that shallow little skimming across the top that we can quite often do. Constructive disagreement is all about different viewpoints. So we can engage and we challenge and we really bring this respectful and open-minded conversation and frame of mind so that we can challenge those ideas. Because when we disagree, one of the weird things about disagreeing is that because we haven't actually spoken to each other about what we're disagreeing about, we actually underestimate the amount of common ground that we might have. And we overlook that we might, and in fact, we do agree on a number of things. We don't know this because we haven't discussed it. When we can uncover those uncertainties, when we can uncover those incorrect assumptions that people might not even be aware of, we can address that knowledge and that understanding gap. And when we can address the knowledge and the understanding gap, we get the opportunity to actually refine ideas. We get the opportunity to explore new ideas. Now, obviously, we have to have brought an open mind to the process. We get the opportunity to encourage and to build our skills with creative problem solving. And we do this because we've got a fresh perspective. And that enables us to come up with a range of alternative solutions. Creative or positive conflict can be a real driver. It can be a real driver to progress because it forces us to do that creative problem solving. Like, let's get real. Let's get real. Sometimes the very hardest part of every single job that you've got or that you've had, it's the people. It's the people, not the work. And it's not easier for you to suck up the conflict. It doesn't go away if you ignore it. As I said earlier, it festers. People leave because they don't feel valued and they're miserable. It stymies your progress. And if you leave it to fester for too long, it will become a full-blown explosion. So the question becomes, right, well, Beth, how do I develop a company culture that provides a framework for my team to work through disagreements positively, to deal with conflict in a healthy way? Well, I've got 6 things here that I want to share with you. The first one is that your company culture must already have a foundation of trust and respect. You can't suddenly be dealing with healthy conflict simply because you decided now is the time and you're actually laying it over the top of a real toxic environment anyway. The second one is that individuals must agree and they must understand there's going to be no finger pointing, there's going to be no blaming. We're not going to fight and argue here. What we're going to do is to let go of our desire to blame. The third thing is we all must bring to the meeting a commitment to work towards understanding and respecting the other's point of view, which means that we've got to lean back to allow them the opportunity to talk without us getting all emotional, without us exploding, without us arguing with them. That open mind, no finger pointing, no blaming. We're working towards understanding and respecting others. Number 4, a recognition that every single person's opinion matters so that your team is able to speak and express their opinions without any fear. They don't think they're going to get, paid back later because they said something that they thought will create repercussions. The 5th one, absolute clarity. Absolute clarity about this point is essential. If you don't win the conversation, the conflict, the discussion, then you are going to respect this and get on board with that team decision. So you're not going to keep holding on to it. It's not win-win or win-lose, it's win-win. And the 6th one, recognition. Everyone needs to come to this with the recognition that healthy conflict actually serves the individuals, the team, and the organization. So there's 6 really important foundations. If what you're thinking about is getting your team, getting your organization ready to deal with conflict in a healthy way, and to do that without any fear of repercussions. So as a leader going into this situation, what's really important is that you set some clear expectations, including some consequences for everyone who's coming to the conversation if they break these guidelines. There have to be some consequences, because otherwise you're putting people at risk, and the psychological safety around the conversation will have gone. You've broken that trust, you've broken that respect, and some people won't come back to the table ever again. As a leader, it's about identifying that when we are united, when we can agree to disagree, let it go and move on, when we can fully discuss an idea, we're united. And when we're united, we are really powerful. It's also important that you give people permission and you empower them to work things out without you having to always get involved. As the leader, others should be able to do that without you having to get involved. There are some things that is worth your while to get involved with. There are other things that it's not worth your while. So remember to pick your battles. As a leader, I want you to remember some other things here. You can't have healthy conflict with a bully. You just can't have healthy conflict with a bully. So you've got to let that conflict go, or potentially let the individual go. I'll let that just sit for a moment. Let whatever the conflict is about go, or let the individual go. The second thing is, you're not the referee. I said a little earlier, pick your battle. You're not the referee. Give people permission to go work something out for themselves. They're perfectly okay for them to work things out for themselves and to have healthy conflict using those rules of engagement that I talked about earlier. 2 people should be able to work out a peaceful resolution without you having to be there for every one of those conversations. And what flows on from that is this tip, which is to not step in too soon. Don't step in too soon. Don't overmanage the situation. Your people, your team, your organization must learn, for its own benefit, it must learn how to manage healthy conflict, how to work their way through positive disagreement. One of the key things is to remove the emotion. That's really that finger pointing or blame that I was talking about before. This isn't saying that person over there did that, or you spoke to me disrespectfully, and having those emotions get in the way. Because what we know is that the higher our emotion is, the lower our capacity to think clearly and to make awesome decisions is. So be thinking the whole time, how can I remove the emotions? I want, in my framework of the rules of engagement, I'm going to make sure that people understand we're removing the engagement here, or we're removing the emotions rather, and also have them be ready to unlearn. Like often disagreement, it's because I have my particular idea and I don't even want to consider yours. I simply want to stick with my version of events. This is what's critical for me. I'm going to hang on to this. Be ready to unlearn. So let's just put a little bit of a summary together. Positive disagreement has many benefits for you, for your team, for your organization. Don't ignore conflict. So because it will fester and it could explode and get quite toxic. So build a culture that supports the process of positive disagreement, that welcomes positive disagreement, because there's the possibility for diverse responses, for creative outcomes, for innovation, for new ideas, for different perspectives. So build a culture which actually supports this. And also, as a leader, make sure that there is clarity in your communication about this, and normalize positive disagreement as something that the whole team and the organization will benefit from, so you're comfortable with it. You know, there's a gorgeous, I really love this quote by Desmond Tutu, and it goes like this: don't raise your voice, improve your argument. Don't raise your voice, improve your argument. The reason I'm sharing that with you is because, you know, in terms of positive disagreement or dealing with conflict in a healthy way, it's not about who can talk the loudest, who can talk the longest, who's got the most bluster. It's actually about improving your argument and a willingness to be ready to unlearn without blaming other people. So there's a lot going on here in terms of this dealing with positive disagreement, or, you know, making conflict, dealing with conflict in a healthy way. So what are your next steps? Well, I guess that it's all about learning and practicing those leadership and those communication tools that are going to support positive outcomes from professional disagreement. So next week, what I'm going to cover, I'll cover off on those leadership and those communication and those mindset tools that will help you to embrace conflict, to deal with it, and to achieve a positive outcome. Today, what I've given you is an overview of, if this is what you want to do, yep, here's some rules of engagement, here's what it's all about, here are the benefits of it. So tune in next week to make sure that what you get is some understanding of those leadership, those communication, and those mindset tools that will absolutely help you to develop skills for yourself, for your team, and for your organization to have positive disagreement. Thank you so much for watching today. If you've got any questions or comments, put them on the platform that you're watching on, and we'll get back to you. If you're watching a replay, please pop #replay so that we know that you're there and we can contact you. If you would like some assistance framing up your organization's rules of engagement for dealing with positive disagreement, reach out. Really happy to communicate with you. See you next week. Bye now.